the derisive moniker City of Mud as it mushroomed into a mini-metropolis, an increasingly popular confluence of buyers and sellers. Other things were coming together there, too. Cairo's needle pointed southeasterly across Kentucky toward Nashville, the new Confederate States of America's chief supply depot west of the Appalachians. With 5 railroads and a wharf teeming with steamboat traffic, the Tennessee capital also boasted machine shops, foundries, an armory producing 250 rifles a week, a percussion cap factory turning out 250,000 caps a day, a plow plant retooled to manufacture Southern sabers, and burgeoning caches of meat, ammunition, and other necessities for the recently recruited Confederate armies. Nashville provided distribution for the Confederacy's foremost iron manufacturing region, as well as for the north end of its agricultural breadbasket. Yet between Cairo and this Confederate capital lay just 2 unfinished and undermanned military outposts, the earthen Forts Henry and Donelson, just south of the Tennessee border. With Confederates in Virginia having shattered an attacking Union army at Bull Run the previous July, and the war east of the Appalachians lulling toward stalemate, the focus of meaningful action was shifting westward. Now the conflict's central theater smoldered toward explosion, and it was small wonder that the Cairo area's top 2 military men were focused on the direction of the needle. The older of the 2 men was 55-year-old Andrew H. Foote, whose job it was to construct and command the gunboats of a revolutionary federal riverborne navy. The son of a Connecticut senator, Foote had already fashioned a glittering career for himself outside the sphere of his father's influence. The senator could control the rest of his half-dozen sons pretty well, Foote's eldest brother would remember, but the old man could no more than guide Andrew. Commanding a brig off the west coast of Africa earlier in his career, the headstrong son had risked the ire of Southern members of Congress by helping British Royal Navy crews pursue and search the many slave ships bound for the Americas. 100,000 slaves a year were being transported to the New World in the late 1840s, even though overseas importation of purchased human beings had been illegal in America since 1808. Foote proved so adept at interfering with this traffic that his ship was credited with a marked decrease in it, and in 1854 he wrote a book about his experience titled Africa and the American Flag. Like his father, Senator Samuel Augustus Foote, the son was no thoroughgoing abolitionist before the war, but Andrew did nurse an antipathy toward human bondage that seems to have sprung from fervent Puritan Congregationalism. His faith was so pronounced that he required his sailors to attend religious services each Sabbath and often held the rites himself. As if interference with the international slave trade were not enough, he also had incurred the disapproval of Dixie's worldly-wise aristocratic politicians by leading a temperance movement on the seas, reducing and ultimately removing the Navy's per-sailor grog ration. Foote was a man of contrasts. An associate remembered that Foote was black-eyed, stocky yet agile, exhibiting a sailor-like manner that made his company highly desirable. Along with his fervent religion, he displayed great sympathy for human failings, having supported congressional banning of the punitive naval practice of flogging. But he was merciless in the face of the enemy. He believed that the only way to defeat a foe was to seek out and destroy him, and even his religion hardly curbed his bloodlust once he determined that his cause was right. 5 years earlier, in 1856, as a neutral observing and protecting American interests during the Second Opium War against the Chinese, Foote responded to fire on his flag by personally leading 287 sailors and Marines in attacks that routed thousands of entrenched Chinese. Foote's combativeness probably helped him form a bond with his otherwise unlikely co-conspirator, the Cairo Army commander, a younger, less overtly political and reputedly bibulous Ulysses S. Grant. 39 years old, Grant had been sent to southern Illinois to command some 20,000 infantry and cavalrymen who were massing there, shortly before Foote arrived to supervise completion of a fleet of metal-covered and timber-clad gunboats to help protect them. At a slouching 5'7" and 135 pounds, Grant was a quiet, rumpled little man, often pictured grimly with a tight line of a mouth. A new brigadier general, he recently had had his photograph taken in uniform, looking foolish in a feathered hat, his facial expression suggesting dawning recognition of the image the picture could convey. His more natural sartorial style, borrowed from the Mexican war general Zachary Taylor, ran toward informal borderline slovenliness, unbuttoned tunics with tarnished buttons, and no rank on the collar. The world soon would learn, however, that the attention Grant withheld from his clothes tended to be applied to weightier concerns. That Grant and Foote entered into collusion would not have seemed unlikely at the time. Each man needed something from the other.